Hi there, here's Christina from Changing Parenting, and recently a mom contacted me because she was having this situation at the kindergarten. So suddenly our 2-year-old son stopped sleeping a nap in the kindergarten. He used to love going outside and he started, being a little grumpy outside. And, something was happening with her child that she couldn't understand. And on top of that, what happened was as soon as she picked up the child, her son would just, be really crazy, like screaming and being like always, mommy, 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 and very, and yeah, the situation was getting really hard for her to deal with. And I wonder if maybe you have a situation similar to this, then this video might help you. So as always, the first thing is to understand what is developmentally appropriate. So normally a child will want to stop taking a nap between the ages of 3 and 5, and on average around 4-year-olds. Although a lot of 3-year-olds, depends on the developmental age. But for a 2-year-old to stop wanting to nap, usually, especially if it's something that is very sudden. So they were sleeping, in this case, for instance, the boy was sleeping 1.5 hours, 2 hours every single day, and then suddenly stopped wanting to sleep or stopped sleeping a nap. That means something happened. It's not because the child doesn't want to nap, right? The second thing is always trying to understand where is the behavior coming from. So what is causing the behavior? So in this case, what we need to do is to find out, is it related to the kindergarten or is it related to something else? And the easiest way we can find this out is by getting the child to see if the child sleeps a nap outside of the kindergarten. So some things that you can do is, for instance, try and spend the weekend at home, like in a very relaxed way, because anyway, if your child is sleep cranky, probably going out on the weekend is not going to be fun for anyone anyway. So try and spend the weekend at home, and very relaxing, no demands at all. When children are going through this sleep crankiness, imagine when you are upset, when you're tired, right? Anything just sets you off. Anything just triggers you. And children are the same, because children are just people, right? So even though, of course, as normally you want your child to, be able to fulfill all these things at home and respect rules and all that, when things are getting too intense, first you need to self-regulate the child before you can demand things from a child, especially from a 2-year-old. So first, the first thing is always to, attend to their needs before you can start making demands, before you can start expecting things from them. So I recommend, until the situation kind of like, until you're able to give your child the skills they need to handle the situation, to just, relax a bit with the demands at home, with all the parenting rules, and, just focus more on helping your child self-regulate. So have a weekend with low demand, nothing is happening, we are just going to be lazy, having a pajama day. Nothing is expected of the child, nothing is demanded of the child, and see in all this relaxed environment if the child sleeps. If the child sleeps, then very often this means it's probably from the daycare, the kindergarten. Something is happening in the kindergarten that is not allowing the child to relax and go to sleep. So even though they are tired, and doesn't have to be something bad, it can be something very exciting, for instance, new toys, new kids, new stuff happening, all the kids are playing with the new toys and they also want to play with the new toys. It can be also that there is like new staff that is bringing the kids to bed, and the kid doesn't trust the staff, doesn't feel, it didn't create that bond yet, because again, it's only a 2-year-old. So they might not feel relaxed enough to sleep. It might be that suddenly the rules have changed or something has changed, and then they are being demanded to perform, in the sense of like, this is the time to sleep and now we all have to sleep, and they aren't able, and it's creating anxiety. There's a lot of reasons. And if it's related to the kindergarten, it's really important to have a conversation with the kindergarten, and make a meeting with them, and really ask the details. So when you say he doesn't want to go outside, why exactly he doesn't want to go outside? What is happening? Like, you tell him to go outside, and then what does he say? And then when he cries, what happened just before he cried? And how do you manage to get him to stop crying? And what does he do when he's crying? Does he go and stay away in a corner by himself? Does he, have an explosion of anger? What is actually happening? And ask also, like, today, you pick him up today and you ask, like, so today, what happened exactly? So at what time did he cry? And try and see a pattern. Does the distress always happening when this person is in charge, for instance? Perhaps you need to have a conversation with that person in the way they are dealing with your child. Perhaps there's some disconnect there. And I give you an example. There was this mom that I was helping, that a teacher from the kindergarten, she was quite harsh on the child. And then the mother talked, not in the sense of being like, please don't be harsh with my child, but just in the sense of being like, I feel like my son is getting a bit scared of the playtime. When playtime is with you, perhaps you could try and spend some time with him. And then the kindergarten teacher made an effort to spend a day with the child and to pay more attention to the child. And at the end of the day, the child was telling the parents that he wanted to invite the teacher home for dinner, So it's sometimes you don't have to be like, something is happening, in an accusatory tone or something. You can just speak in the sense of like, I need your help. When you ask people for help, they are much more willing to help you than if you go in an accusational tone. Then, going back to the developmental process, so what happens for a 2-year-old? So around the age of 2 years old, one thing that happens is this idea of emotional memory. So when children are around 12 months old, they understand that even if I can't see something, it's still there, right? They have that concept. But around then 2 years old, that's when they are like, I can imagine, even if I'm not experiencing something, based on my past experiences, I can now grab those memories because I can remember the emotions that those things have. So before, they would go, imagine, to the kindergarten, to daycare, and they knew that even though you were not there at daycare, you still existed. But now, they also know that when you are not there, maybe you're doing something amazing that they love doing. Or they can also think like, okay, tomorrow is kindergarten day, and I remember that last week there was this, they don't know the idea, the temporal idea of last week, but they can remember that something happened in the kindergarten. Maybe they had a fight with the kid, maybe they had some unpleasant experience, and so they can recall that. So this happens, that's why around 2 years old, some children, not all children, but some children will start getting this separation anxiety. And to find out if it's a case of separation anxiety or not, the best way is to get your child to be in the care of someone else. So not just for one day, it can be a weekend also, or it can be, a weekday if it's possible for you, whatever. But the idea is that the child is away from you, but it's also away from the kindergarten. So when you try what I said before, to try it in your own home with a relaxed environment, see if the child sleeps, you find out if it's related to the kindergarten or not, or if there's something like that. But if you also, let your child sleep in someone else's house and see if they sleep there, then, and if they also don't sleep at the house of someone they love, like a grandparent, then you know that it might be related to separation anxiety. You always need to discover. It's like all challenging behavior is always like a detective work. You need to find out what's causing the behavior so that you can address it appropriately. I hope this gave you some tips, and if you have any questions, let me know.